Hi, here's an update on my supernatural healing from asthma. I decided I wanted to come on here and be a little more casual today. You like my shirt? I got it as a gift. I think it's really cool. You know, here's the deal. When we left China in 2016, we'd been there, I don't know, four and a half years. And after we'd been there only 6 months, as you probably saw from my video, how to receive, the 2 tools that I used to receive my own healing, I was in desperate situations. I mean, well, let me put it this way. When we moved back in I said 2016, I meant 2019. In 2019, when we moved back from China, a few months later, we moved to part of my family's hometown. And I was in such bad shape that I took on a job as a personal trainer, and I got so sick about 6 or 8 months into that particular job that months later, when I ran into a coworker that was also a trainer at the same facility, and he had moved on and had another job, he said, "Tim, I was really worried about you. I'm not kidding. There were times that I thought, man, this guy looks like he's about to die." and I got to be honest, that was really sobering for me, because I never really felt like I was that bad. But other people saw it very, very differently, and were legitimately concerned for my life, especially as active as I had to be as a personal trainer. And, you know, in my testimony video, I talk about how active I always had been. I was the oldest guy on our SWAT team, SRT, Special Response Team, and I was squad leader over Alpha Squad, and Alpha Squad is where only the most capable operators were assigned. And a lot of that had to do with the fact that I had a lot of previous tactical training. I came in with years and years of experience after having worked with Israelis and special forces throughout all 4 of the U.S. forces, and that kind of thing. And so I had a lot of experience and a lot of expertise to bring to the table, I guess, expertise, so to speak. And I was still outperforming most of the guys on that team, because if you're familiar with P90X, I did double P90X 6 days a week. You know, I was 43, 44, 45 years old, and pulling this kind of rigorous regimen. Well, today it marks about a month and a half since we were at Life Church in Sikeston, Missouri. I just felt compelled to go that morning. And we had been wanting to go for weeks, because I wanted to get to know Dr. David Craig and his wife, Harriet. I got your name right that time, sister. I'm so sorry that sometimes I struggle with names. But I just felt compelled. And I tell you, there was hell to pay that morning. It was hard getting there. It was really hard. We just hit some serious obstacles and battles to get there. And when we finally arrived, you know, we were late, and you can watch I'll link the video or pin it in the comments so that you can go watch it, where I give all these details in much more detail. But we got there, we were late, we thought we were on time, but apparently we were a half hour late. We kind of snuck in and went around out to the outside aisle and sat down on the end of an open pew. And while we were there, you know, I don't know that I necessarily felt anything supercharged for that morning. And I don't know that, you know, sometimes you do and sometimes you don't. You walk into an environment and you're like, whoa, this was just what I needed. And I'm not saying that it wasn't just what we needed. I'm just saying that with all the difficulties and the emotional, man, we're just pressing through. We're going to get there. We're going no matter what. With all that going on, we got there, and man, I was just kind of spent, emotionally, mentally, to a degree, physically, just spent. and I was still struggling really heavily with the asthma. I'd had a mild asthma attack that morning. I had a pocket full of cough drops with me, just to open up the airways. And I mean, now I still use them for sinus congestion, and sometimes my throat gets itchy, whatever, but I don't have the inflammation and the itchy feeling that like I want to open my chest and scratch the inside, all the way down through my bronchial tubes. My lower lungs no longer feel like they're on fire when I breathe. And that didn't happen that often, but it did happen on occasion. My back no longer itches from the inside so badly that scratching it with a back scratcher actually makes my lungs feel better, because it's itching all the way through all the muscle to the skin. And I literally could scratch my back and feel the relief on the inside. Those of you that have asthma, you know what I'm talking about, especially if it's as bad as mine was. And frankly, I didn't consider mine that bad until that day that young man looked at me and said, man, I was really worried. There were times I thought, is this guy going to die? I mean, he really did. He said, Tim, I thought you were going to die. You were looking bad. And I don't mean to come off like we always talk behind your back, but we were all talking during that time period. We didn't even tell Tim he shouldn't be training people because he's exerting himself, and I'm worried he's going to keel over. That's sobering. If you've never had anybody tell you that, well, let me tell you, it'll wake you up, folks. Well, anyway, moving on. Today, we had an amazing Shabbat rest yesterday. Just felt supernaturally recharged, and that's something that I haven't felt for a while, because I mean, even when I would have a great Shabbat, or we would spend time in worship or prayer or just in the Word all day from sunset to sunset, or whatever. And I don't mean I stayed up all night. I just meant that, anytime I was awake. A lot of times in China, I'd start at sunset and I'd start reading one of the epistles, and I'd just read it until I got to the end, and then I'd start over again. And by the end of a Shabbat, the next morning when I got up, I'd start again and read it over and over again until sundown, and just take time for water, for coffee break, for, a meal, or to use the restroom, whatever. But I was in that book over and over and over and over and over and over, and that was my Shabbat. And those are amazing times, because you begin to see that Paul really just repeats himself a whole lot, and you start to see how he quotes the Septuagint, and you understand why it sounds different than Torah, all of that. And those are times that I really cherished. But I was never really rested because I was in so much pain, and you get to a point where pain becomes the normal, and you don't realize how much pain you're really in. Well, now I realize how much pain I was really in, and it's miraculous. I don't even know how to express to you how much better I feel than I did then. But I've got some video footage from our hike today at Johnson's Shut-In, and some beautiful pictures. We did about 2.5 miles, about 2.25 miles, and the last quarter mile back to the camp, the parking lot where our car was parked, I was pushing a stroller and jogging. Let that sink in. I haven't been able to jog since 2016, mid-2016. And I've tried a couple of times and thought I was going to literally cough up a lung. But amazingly, today, at the end of a 2.25 mile hike, I jogged almost a quarter of a mile back to our car, pushing the stroller. And you'll see in the videos and the pictures, it's 6%, 8% grade. We probably climbed and went down 1,000 steps in each direction. Where the boardwalk is, we went down this incredible embankment filled with switchbacks all the way down into the canyon to the river, and played around by the river with Judah for a while, threw rocks in the water, had a great time with our toddler.